Welcome to Tenacious Entrepreneurs, where perseverance meets purpose and every setback is just another step forward. Join us as we dive into the journeys of entrepreneurs who faced failures, embraced change, and emerged stronger than ever. Whether you're dreaming big or already on your way, this podcast is here to remind you that the end is only the beginning. Stay inspired, stay tenacious, and let's conquer the entrepreneurial world together.
This is Joseph Dupont again, your host of the Tenacious Entrepreneur podcast, and we're coming back to you live here in New Orleans from our studios, and I've got Rene Manfre here with us. Rene's going to share with us a little bit of his history, and we're going to get to know him a little bit. And I really appreciate you coming and taking time to be on the show.
I appreciate it. It's been been a pleasure working with you for the last few months, and looking forward to the next phase.
Hey, man, that sounds great, man. And I just in the beginning of the podcast, I wanted to tell you that we appreciate you taking your time out to do it.
Right.
I've got my family's secret recipe. It's Cajun CJ's gumbo. Ooh. Since it's getting into the 20s and supposed to snow on Wednesday, right. I figured 40 minutes to a gumbo would be a lot better than anything else.
But, perfect. I appreciate it.
We'll take care of you. We appreciate you coming out to the show. Well, brother, I was just getting to visit with you a little bit. We haven't really got to know each other much, but we've been working together a little bit the last couple of months, and I just wanted to get some history on what's your background? Like, where'd you did you go to high school here? Did you live in New Orleans or New York, or where'd you grow up?
No, I grew up in Metairie, Louisiana, and Italian family, mother, father. I'm the youngest of four.
Okay.
And went to Brummel High School.
I'm the youngest too, so we're the favorite.
Oh yeah, we always we learn from all the others' mistakes and everything else.
I was a baby. I was a bambino.
And I think about it a lot now. Being the youngest, I got past a lot of stuff, and I was able to get away with more things than the older ones, right?
But you know what? I feel like that as the youngest one, like I got to learn a lot of stuff from my 10-year-old than me brother.
Correct. Same
that my buddies weren't doing, but I learned a lot of bad stuff quick.
Right. I grew up fast because my older brother was 10 years older.
Yeah.
My other brother was 8 years older. My sister was 5. So it's like I grew up with their friends.
Right.
And so I was able to most other friends never really had that experience. And I really started realizing as I got older that benefit of having those older brothers and friends at the time. So it was really pretty cool at that time.
That's awesome.
Put me in a bike and just ride me around with them.
Oh yeah. I remember my brothers. They stuck me up on the roof of a house and dared everybody to jump off the house with their bike. We were jumping off into the pool, and of course I stayed up there till it was dark. And my parents
put you up there.
Oh yeah, my parents like to kill my brothers. When they try to explain it. Well, see, Mom, what it was, he wouldn't take the bike off the roof. She said, the bike off of what?
Right.
So I get
crazy stories.
Yeah. So fast forward, like you went through school here. Did you go to college?
Yeah. No, I graduated. So I went to Rummel High School and graduated right in 1988. And I was supposed to be going to Nicholls State to play ball. Girlfriend at the time, we kind of broke up. A couple weeks later, got a phone call. She was pregnant. So I kind of had to do a detour pretty quickly.
Okay.
And that story in itself is youngest, Catholic, Italian. I'm sitting upstairs in my room and pretty much just saying, okay, commit suicide or tell my dad, all right? Because at that,
those two options, yeah.
I mean, I'm the youngest, and it's like this was not part of the plan. So everything worked out. When I worked in the oil refineries, my dad was a buyer for Shell oil refineries. So instead of going to Nicholls State and playing ball, I decided to do the right thing and go to work and take care of my wife and baby girl. Right. So I worked in oil refineries about 2 years. It was a great experience. I kind of learned all the different things of scaffolding, working for maintenance companies, things of that nature. Worked up pretty quickly. And at that time, 1989, making $20, $22 an hour, things of that nature, it was kind of like an eye-opening experience.
Right.
And after a couple of years in it, I just kind of started realizing my abilities of sales, which I've always been
Right.
good at sales. My brother had a health club business, so I was always in the health club on a part-time basis, training, teaching, coaching individuals, how to lose weight, gain weight, etc. And so I really liked that interaction. So I started realizing that that's maybe a different angle. So after a couple of years, I got out of the oil business and just kind of got into a tuxedo business opportunity, and then a staffing business. I ran a staffing company right around 24. So those years.
So you were working for a tuxedo company, or you?
Well, at first I was working for the tuxedo company, and so that's where I kind of learned more sales.
Okay.
So they needed an opportunity for a manager to come in.
Floor
and just,
manager, yeah.
Yeah. So it was pretty interesting, just understanding the wedding industry itself, meeting a lot of different people in around the city that either had different catering halls, things of that nature.
So what was tuxedo place? Was it here? Was it in Metairie or?
Yeah, it was in Metairie called Al's Formalwear.
Okay. All right. So is Al still around or?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah,
they made it without you. Like once you left, they were.
They made it without
They're
me.
okay. So you went tuxedo industry, and then you went
into an opportunity for a staffing company.
Okay.
Basically they staff people. It's called labor finders. And at that time, I wasn't making enough. You get to these levels, which we all go through, is like, if I can just make $3,000 a month, right?
Right.
And it's like, okay, can't really go any higher here. So my dad always taught me, son, you never leave a job until
You have another job.
you have another job.
Yeah, me and you had the same dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very adamant. And you put on your resume, looking for a better or just for a better opportunity, right? Or
Right.
some sort. So every resume I always put this, just
Looking for a better opportunity,
looking
yeah.
better opportunity or advance myself or whatever it may
Right.
be. So I never left anywhere I never really got fired. I don't think. I thought about that the other day. I don't think I've been fired.
Right.
Especially for being lack of work or anything else. I always outworked everybody else. So I always learned that my brand was my name. And I didn't think of this until just over the last few years. I always treated that if I can go to work and work for these people and they make sure that they know who I am.
Right.
But I didn't realize I was building a brand.
Yeah, you built a brand with your name. So fast forward, like you went through that. When did you start? I mean, you're not still in the tuxedo business, and you're
No.
definitely not still in the staffing business. So
Right.
what are you doing now? Like what is your industry?
Well, what happened was right in that year of staffing business, I was doing that for 4 years. Great company, had a lot of contacts with a lot of construction companies. But my brother and his partner, they took over another health club up in Arkansas.
Okay.
And so they kept on asking me to come up there. At the time, I was divorced. No, I got divorced from the first one. And I was engaged to someone, and it just wasn't going the way I wanted. And so I decided to let me go to Arkansas.
Right.
So I went up to Arkansas to run the health club that we had up there. It was about 50,000 square foot, pools, racquetball courts. Are really a beautiful place, Fort Smith, Arkansas. I don't know if you ever been there.
No, I've been to like Little Rock. It's about as far as I've gone.
Right.
Yeah.
So my brother kept on him and his partner kept on calling me and saying, Rene, come on up. So I went up, and it was really a true experience where we drove all night to get up there. And the next morning I wake up and I'm like, wow, I just moved. I just moved everything my whole life to a place where I have no clue. And just my brother and his partner, right? That's all I had. And so that was a true, another just eye-opening experience.
Yeah.
That I was able to help the club grow. I did a lot of corporate sales, and, with employees and things of that nature. And right around 97 is where I capped. My brother and his partner were making very well, but
Right.
I couldn't get past that 6 figures.
Right.
I was bouncing between the 70, 80,000, and inside of me, I knew I was capable. I just couldn't figure out the vehicle, right? And so I made a detour. Said I'm going back home and try to figure it out. And so I came back home, and I was 27, and I didn't know what I was doing. My sister worked for a company who owned a lot of commercial buildings.
Right.
And I just asked, if I can just work with them, just doing whatever, painting, etc. And I was just trying to figure it out. And then my dad, again, was very adamant about having insurance, health insurance. So he called me up one night and said, Rene, you got to get home to because I was staying with them. So I was staying with them, and he called me up and asked me, or told me that I had to get home to meet the insurance guy to switch my insurance from Arkansas to Louisiana.
Right.
So I get home, take a shower, sitting at a table, and it was Jody Graham. And so he was asking me questions, filling out the application, and I just asked him. I said, Mr. Jody, can I ask you a question? I said, I've been approached by insurance guys for years. How do you make money? And he told me. He showed me that based off the application that you're filling out, I'm going to get paid a percentage plus a residual income. And I said, really? So how much do you make? And again, my dad was kind of like, what do you ask? I said, Dad, just
let me ask one question.
Tell me the truth.
Yeah.
He said $300,000. I said, you got to be kidding. Listen, I don't have a college background. I can sell anything. I've been a manager. I'm looking for an opportunity. How do I get into this deal? So he kind of just shared with me that you have to go get a license and find a company.
A broker, yeah.
Which I never had no clue about all that. All right?
Yeah.
And so that opened the door. So the next day, it put into my mind that, okay, so if that guy can do it, I can do it. I have to go get this license. Now, again, I was a football player.
Right.
I know I did not get through school because of my grades. I got through school because the coaches would make sure that teachers passed me on certain subjects.
Yeah, good personality.
Not saying I was stupid, but when I was going to take this test and go through this class, I was a little bit nervous, right?
Right.
But the guy, Jody, called me up that day and said, Rene, listen, usually we don't hire people who don't have insurance background, but I told my boss I need to talk to you. So I went home the next day, I think I went over to meet the guy.
Right.
And his name was Lucian Polisi. And he's in his office, playing video poker, smoking a cigar. It was back in 1997. You never thought about smoking inside the building, though.
Yeah.
And he said, I like you, Rene. You're a good kid. So get your license. I'll put you to work. I said, well, what's the salary? What am I? Straight commission. Got it. I'm in. So again, Dad was always adamant about salary, right?
Yeah.
So when I got home that night and I kind of shared with him, I said, I don't know, son. I mean, that's straight commission. I said, Dad, listen, I'm going to figure this thing out because if that guy can do it, I can do it. I just need the opportunity. So I still painted, went to a little class for about 2 weeks, took the course, failed the test. So we were talking about earlier about failure.
Right.
I failed the test by 2 points.
All right.
So it's a big book, PPO, HMO, you name it, right?
Yeah.
And I know I was close. I just couldn't figure out. So I had to go retest. I had to pay these little fees every time I took a test. So I'm painting during the middle of the day while I'm studying, going home, studying it all night again, go take the test. Miss the test again, 2 points. I was
Were you
adamant.
spelling your name wrong? I mean, what?
Dude, I'm
2 points both times.
You go in a room and
I know, but I mean 2 points both times. Like there has to be like a consistent.
I just couldn't.
Something that you're not getting. Yeah.
They give you a printout and they show you on the thing
the things you missed,
like different chapters, and I was like, okay, well, it's. I can't remember exactly, but I remember I just analyzed that thing, and then you take these little practice tests, right?
Yeah.
And so I just knew I was missing about something. So I just went back to the chapters. I read. I kept on taking these little pre-exams, and again, failed the test 4 times.
4 times. Wow.
Failed the test 4 times.
I'm gonna break away here for a second because that's the definition of tenacious or stupid. I don't.
I knew I wasn't.
Let's not say stupid. Let's say hard-headed.
Dude, I gotta say this.
You were tenacious at the point. You were hard-headed, huh?
I have no problem saying it because just like you and I were talking earlier, most people quit.
Yeah.
But I knew that I was just missing it by something I just didn't understand. And when you're looking at a multiple choice test, it's not that I didn't understand the information. It's just something I'm reading it wrong.
Yeah.
Right? So I finally went in and passed the test, okay? So I passed the test. Freaking fired up. Call my mom, call my sister, my brother, everybody else. So
I get to go to work for nothing.
Pretty much, right? So, dude, I dress up.
I pass the test, Dad. I get to make no money and go to work.
That was the first thing, because I knew I had the confidence knowing that I can sell. I knew, because I've already done it, right? But straight commission, that was a little fear, and again, I was painting. I was living at home, so that was a blessing. I didn't have too much expenses, so I was okay. So I went in that office that morning, in a big building. You have all these other guys. It's older. I was the youngest one pretty much. And I just felt like wow, I have an opportunity. These guys are making $200, $300, $400, $500 million, right? And I'm sitting in my little cubicle, and I had all these little stuff, and I put it on my cubicle, right? And they gave me a list, and I just had to make phone calls.
Right.
So I looked in my mind, and I said, okay, if I can make phone calls and set appointments, that's all I need. So I stayed there until 9 or 10 o'clock at night making phone calls and setting appointments.
Have you ever heard of the book Og Mandino's World Greatest Salesman?
I've heard of it, and I haven't had a pleasure of reading it.
Your story reminds me so much of him. Like Og Mandino went in to try to get a job in sales at a car dealership. And they said the same thing. We can't hire you. Like, you don't have any experience.
Right.
And he told him, look, I won't take ups. Like, I won't take the ups that come in. I'll just generate my own leads. Right. And he went into the office and literally opened up the phone book and went to Mr. Albatross, would you be interested in buying a car? And he did that. He sold 10 cars his first week in the business. Right. And he sold more cars than most of the people that were there.
Correct.
And it just is a matter of just like being, just being determined, man, like not being told no. But so you went in and you started following up your leads, and then what happened?
No, within about, so again, I was still painting. And then I would go in the office, I'd make my appointments, and I started doing my appointments each week. And I just knew in my mind that if I could just close 5 to 10 sales per week, that would give me the amount that I needed to achieve my goals, right? And so within about 30 to 60 days, the money started coming in. Because I was closing the sales, I was just meeting people, and every time I would make a phone call, I just basically acted like, hey, my name is Rene Manfre. I'm seeing that you might have an interest in health insurance. Can I make an appointment with you to show you some options? If they had any questions, I knew that I'm brand new, don't know everything about this, but I'll get the answer back to you. So that was my strategy at first, to where I can overcome me of lack of knowledge or me being young, right?
Right.
And I would just call my manager and say, Miss Jones asked me a question. She told me, bam, everything went fine. And I looked at it as, here I am sitting in these people's homes, and I started building this relationship with them and hearing their stories, hearing their problems, hearing other things, that I started realizing I'm just a consultant. I'm just their advisor. I'm somebody who can maybe help them with other resources, not just the health insurance.
Right.
And so it just kind of started growing over the months. Money started coming in. Dad called me up one day, and he always had a habit of opening my mail, right? And he said, son, you got this check for $5,000. You know what that is? I said, Dad, I'm not sure what it is. When I get home, I'll figure it out. So when I got home, it came with a paper. And the paper was 2.5% of all my policies. So they gave you upfront at the time, and also residual income. So that right there was my first 6-figure income, 27, 28, all right? And that just opened my world. It opened the world that I can create, and I can build a relationship, and I can build my own book of business, or my own business, right?
Right.
And making 6 figures makes it a lot easier, right? When you get $5,000, $10,000 checks and things, it's just another world. Because at first you're going from, man, if I can just make $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, and the numbers always change, because you start realizing it's just not enough to get the other things that I want, right?
Right.
So that's where my insurance career started. So insurance basically started there. Blue Cross and Blue Shield, great company. I had a secretary, I had everything. Primerica. I don't know if you heard of Primerica.
Very familiar with that.
A guy who met me through somebody called me one night, and I was in the office making some appointments, and his name is Steve, and he asked, hey, Rene, I was seeing if you'd be interested in coming into a meeting, and I'm all about networking. So yeah, sure, I'll come. So I went, and it was another eye-opener to just another niche in the insurance industry.
Right.
Life insurance, being able to build a team. I was always, because of the health club business and everything else, I was already a teacher, coach, but I couldn't do that in Blue Cross and Blue Shield.
Right.
So I was a captive agent with Blue Cross, and I was just an agent. So I couldn't really build a business of teaching other people. But everybody kept on asking me, so Rene, how do you do what you do? So I never had an avenue.
Right.
So Primerica opened up another avenues where I still work with Blue Cross, but Primerica opened up the opportunity where I can recruit friends and teach and coach and train. So that was the second life that I went into. So that went well. I met a friend, again, this is where relationships.
Yeah.
So if you notice the pattern,
Right.
every single thing that I did was because my father, my brother, those two pretty much helped me get into oil industry, health club business, right? The skills and everything else that I learned was because of that introduction.
Right.
And then by meeting this gentleman, Jody, got me into the insurance, right?
Mm-hmm.
This guy, Steve, got me with another part. So it's like every single thing that we do on a daily basis is because of a relationship.
Right.
So I met somebody else while I was doing insurance, Joe, who was a friend of mine, and he was doing real estate. And I was just curious, like, so I'm doing good with the insurance, but how do you do the real estate flips? That's what he did, investing.
Right. Like flip houses.
And he said, man, this is how we do. Look, I'm about to buy this property. Why don't we do it together? The perfect. I'll do the labor because I know construction.
Yeah,
and
I can
everything.
paint. I can do construction. Yeah.
And so we did our first condo, and I did all the labor, tearing out, ripping down out the floors and things, and it was 911. So 911, I was inside that condo that day, ripping out floors. Somebody knocked on the door. Hey, man, did you hear about New York and the towers? What are you talking about? So I went into their apartment and I watched the
video of the planes,
the planes and everything. I was just still visualize it, right? So we flipped that condo. Both of us profited about $15,000, and that opened up a door. It showed me that, oh, wait a second. So all I got to do is find crappy properties
And flip it. Yeah.
and just fix them up and flip them, make a profit. So by connections with him, met a few bankers and started really understanding all I have to do is call them. Hey, I'm finding this property. This is the price I can get it for. This is how much I'm going to fix it up for. You think I can do the deal? Yeah, Rene, no problem. So that started the real estate journey. He called me up and asked me if I would like to be a team leader for Keller Williams. So back then, Keller Williams here in New Orleans was not, it wasn't really huge. It was just a couple of offices. Actually, the 7 ladies who started it here, they were from the North Shore.
Right.
And so I knew of a gentleman named Bob Kalinsky, who was a team leader, and he actually owned one of the offices, and me and him were good friends, just kind of went out. And so I called him. I said, what do you think, Bob? I said, Rene, dude, you'd be great at it. So I never had a real estate license. So we never thought about that. All right. He started the whole process with the Keller Williams. And then when he told them that he wanted me to be the team leader, they told him, well, he can't be a team leader because he's not licensed. So they flew me up to, I forgot where the corporate office is. And so we already started the office.
Right.
We already had the office. We were putting furniture in there, chairs. He had a few agents. I was just talking to a few agents. And when they flew me up to the Keller Williams corporate office, they had me take disc profile.
Right.
So a disc profile is pretty much like a personality test. And so I went through the disc profile, questions and everything else. And I remember about 6 or 7 people I had to sit in front, and they basically said, well, Rene, you just need to get the license. Well, I knew that. I mean, why y'all flew me all the way up here? I got to go back and get this thing going. So I had to go through that process. While we were building the office, I was studying, and I was basically calling real estate agents. And again, I'm right around 32 at this time.
Yeah, recruiting real estate agents.
Right.
Yeah.
And so these agents sometimes, Rene, can I ask you a question? I mean, I've been in the business for 20 years. What are you going to teach me? So, Miss Joanne, I'm not sure really what I'm going to teach you. I'm not sure if I'm going to hire you. I just want to meet you. Because they had this little uppity thinking right then.
It wasn't right then. Real estate agents have a tendency to, it's hard because they make good money quick.
Correct.
And it gives them a false sense of security that they feel like that they have the ability to make it, on their own.
Right.
So that's what I see a lot of times. And not giving a blanket statement. There's some amazing real estate agents out there, but
right.
I can tell you, like, I remember when I had an RV dealership in campgrounds. I contacted a real estate agent at, I don't remember the name of the company, and I wouldn't say it if I did, but I contacted a big real estate company, and told them, hey, I'd like to buy, anywhere from 10 to 30 acres. I want to build a campground and another RV dealership on the interstate. And I said, anything from New Orleans to Lafayette. Just let me know what you get. And literally had 4 different agents that I did the same thing with. And when I say I did not even get a phone call back.
Wow.
Not even like a hey, go look at this property.
Right.
And I had the money. They knew I had the money to do it.
Right.
But there's just like no like incentive. Like they just, I couldn't figure out how to motivate them. Like they're just like, when I get I'm talking about buying a $10 million, $20 million piece of property. Right. And they just weren't motivated. So I think that teaching sales skills, had to be a positive thing. I eventually found a piece of property that I bought on my own. Right. I found a 200-acre tract of land.
So those agents don't realize, but they missed out on a good $10,000, $50,000, whatever commission, right?
I paid $2 million for or $1.5 million for a piece of land. They missed out on a huge commission just because they weren't willing to call me back and do the work.
So being with Primerica and being with, and again, this all goes down to exposure to certain people. So when you're exposed to millionaire people or individuals who built companies, you and I both know they trained you on your daily activity. Right. What are you doing? And time is of importance. Every second, every minute, every hour is important. Right. So that's where I feel that what brought me to that team leader position was because of those skills and those exposures. And when I got into the real estate business and I started realizing the reason the majority, not all, but majority of 90% of realtors do not produce, because at that time, the real estate companies have managers, right, not real producers. And it took me a little bit of time to really understand my niche and realizing that what you're going to get with me is I'm going to teach you how to be a business owner, because your broker doesn't want to teach you how to be a business owner. He doesn't want you to understand financials. He doesn't want you to understand really the big picture. And when I asked the question, Miss Joan, this one lady, we were sitting having coffee, and I asked her, so Miss Joan, let me ask you a question. If you wanted to take a vacation for a month, could you do it right now with no financial problems? It's like, no, Rene. And how long have you been doing this? 20 years. And you're a $10 million producer. So the producer, that number, is a fake number, because they get hooked on that. I'm a $10 million producer, $20 million producer. When you back out the numbers and bring it down to what is actually you're getting, at that time, it was like 50% of the commission. So if you have a 6% commission, you're only getting 3% on average. Out of that 3%, the real estate office gets 50%, you get 50%. Right. Now, the numbers have changed through the years because of Remax, Keller Williams, and now, a lot of people have caught on. But back then, majority of the brokers did not want to teach their real estate agents really a lot of thinking, because they would go off and be their own broker. Right. So you have to be a real estate agent for 2 years
to become a broker. Yeah, which makes sense. So the thing I want to segue to, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and extend this if it's okay with you. We'll go to a second session because we're about to the end of this one. But I want to dig down to, like, at what point did you actually face an obstacle that you figured out, hey, I'm going to have to pivot or switch? In other words, have you ever had a situation where you just felt like that you were going to fail if you didn't do something?
Numerous.
Numerous. Okay.
Numerous things. But what happened was I had a lot of property when Hurricane Katrina happened. Yeah. And I was in Texas. Yeah. And all my income was coming from real estate at the time. So I had about 30-something properties, 35 years old. And at the time, when I left, I took my box of my properties in a box and the basic stuff, went to Texas, came in from playing with my dog one evening, and I looked at the TV. And when I saw those bridges in New Orleans East, my heart dropped. And my wife at the time did not understand that all my rental properties were in the city. So it took me a little bit of time to get back into the city. But when I got back into the city and I saw the city how it was, and I couldn't get to most of the properties,
Right.
I had to reinvent myself again. I got comfortable, and I thought that I was pretty much bulletproof, having a numerous amount of properties, on paper, a millionaire, not a whole bunch in the bank. But every night I would go to bed looking at that paper, how much I owe, how much am I worth, assets, liabilities, etc. So from that day, I started the restaurant, still did real estate, did not plan for 2008.
Right.
So I should have got rid of more properties before 2008, but I didn't plan for it. I didn't have the right mentors teaching me and exposure. So I had to do a bankruptcy. Hardest thing to do, but it took me about 3 years before I decided to do it. I was trying to do everything I could to save it, but I went to work for a car dealership, did all kind of things. Within about 2 year period, I had to figure out how to make money, how to make more money, right? And when the banks wouldn't lend you any more money, I was like, God dang.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this segment, and I want to dig back into this. And we're going to pick up right there at the bankruptcy,
Okay.
Because I think that's probably like the key that I'm looking for is so many small business owners struggle with like how entrepreneurs in general. We're always all in,
Correct.
And so it's really a struggle, like to know, like, hey, what can I do if I'm getting to the point where I feel like I'm going to fail?
Right.
Is there a next? And so that's what we're going to jump into in this next segment. I really appreciate you taking time. Just stick around. We'll film the next one right quick.
I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Welcome to Tenacious Entrepreneurs, where perseverance meets purpose and every setback is just another step forward. Join us as we dive into the journeys of entrepreneurs who faced failures, embraced change, and emerged stronger than ever. Whether you're dreaming big or already on your way, this podcast is here to remind you that the end is only the beginning. Stay inspired, stay tenacious, and let's conquer the entrepreneurial world together.